CM Punk and Ace Steel will reportedly be heavily involved in the creative for AEW Collision. The Elite are in contract negotiations with AEW, and All Elite Wrestling is reportedly getting more aggressive in their talks with the former World Trios champions. Matt Jackson required permission for this big Double or Nothing spot. We'll let you know what that is. We got the ratings for this past Wednesday's edition of AEW Dynamite on TBS. Also, the estimated pay-per-view buys for the Double or Nothing event last weekend. Pac nears a return from his injury. Lee Moriarty talks about matches he never thought would actually happen that have ended up happening in AEW. Trinity will challenge for the Knockouts Championship at Slammiversary. An update on Dark Side of the Ring amid the ongoing Vice bankruptcy saga. Tay Miller gives an update on her in-ring future after it was announced that she is pregnant and expecting a child with Sammy Guevara. And Evil Udo and Stu Grayson implode on Ring of Honor TV. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of All Elite Wrestling. Let's start off talking about who else but CM Punk and Ace Steel, and a bit of an update when it comes to Ace Steel's involvement in the CM Punk-led AEW Collision. With the news that CM Punk will return to the company for AEW Collision, the future of Ace Steel has now possibly been revealed. It had been previously reported that negotiations between CM Punk and AEW for his return had hit the rocks over the subject of Ace Steel. As per the previous report, Tony Khan was on board with rehiring Ace Steel by having him work remotely and not allowing him to be backstage at AEW shows, although Punk wanted Steel to be backstage. This caused the delay of Punk being announced at all for Collision, but after talks that reportedly involved NDAs, things seem to be all systems go. Steel's involvement in the new Saturday night show have now been clarified, with Dave Meltzer writing in the current issue of the Wrestling Observer newsletter that it is believed that Punk and Steel will be heavily involved in creative for AEW Collision. Meltzer goes on to say that they'll be involved at least in Punk's story, and the main angles and storylines for the show will revolve around the returning star. The debut episode of AEW Collision will take place on June 17 in Punk's hometown of Chicago, Illinois, at the United Center, with Punk's presence officially being confirmed by AEW President Tony Khan on Wednesday's edition of AEW Dynamite. Now, of course, Ace Steel was released by AEW following the events of the post-show AEW All Out press conference in September, but was reportedly rehired months ago. At the time of the news of Steel's release, it was reported that in the aftermath of the behind-the-scenes brawl, CM Punk, Kenny Omega, Matt Jackson, and Nick Jackson were suspended whilst the brawl was investigated. Now, when it comes to Punk's return and the announcement of his return, there's an update on how the announcement of CM Punk for the debut episode of AEW Collision affected the ticket sales for the show. Of course, the debut will take place on June 17 in Punk's hometown of Chicago at the United Center, with Punk's presence being officially confirmed by Tony Khan on Dynamite this week. Now, WrestleTix has provided an update on what difference that has made to ticket sales for the event. At 8:30 a.m. Eastern on Wednesday, so about 12 hours before the announcement, 6,922 tickets had been sold. Fast forward to 3:43 p.m. Eastern on Thursday, so the day after the announcement, that number had increased to 7,684 tickets. So CM Punk did move the needle a little bit. It's going to be interesting as we get closer and closer, with it being, 2 and a bit weeks away, to see how many more tickets are certainly being sold. In addition to that, CM Punk has been training with none other than Stephen Amell for his in-ring return as well. Of course, Amell, former star of Arrow, as well as Heels, a show which CM Punk also guest stars in. Now, when you talk about CM Punk, you have to talk about the Elite as well, and AEW reportedly is stepping up its attempts to get the contract situation of all 3 members of the Elite to put pen to paper and secure their future with the company. According to the latest Wrestling Observer newsletter, AEW is becoming more aggressive in attempting to sort the contracts of the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega, as it has become abundantly clear that Tony Khan wants to retain all 3 men. A report last month suggested that there had been no movement on this front, so as the clock ticks on the situation being unresolved, it's only natural for AEW to press on getting the deals done sooner rather than later. The trio, who are also executive vice presidents with the company, originally signed multi-year deals when AEW was formed in 2019, despite interest at the time from WWE. The Young Bucks have extended their contracts once already with the company, but that pact will run out next year. Meanwhile, Omega's contract is up sometime later on in this year, after being extended due to time off for the injury. Again, it's not known exactly when. Some people are saying right at the end of the year, some people are saying early next year. Of course, Omega did have a lot of time off through injuries. The Elite have been key parts of AEW programming since the start, and especially right now, as evidenced by their feud with the Blackpool Combat Club. However, as Cody Rhodes' departure proved to the wrestling world, no one's future is guaranteed in any wrestling promotion, no matter how important they are to the brand. So the question is there any chance? Do you think Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks could leave AEW? Could they go to WWE? Is that proposition less attractive now that Vince McMahon is back in the fold there, and the merger with Endeavor, with the UFC and WWE coming later this year? Do you think they'll stay with AEW? What part does CM Punk have to play in all of this? Let me know your thoughts, as always, in the comment section below. Really interested to know your thoughts on that one. Now, speaking of the Elite, Anarchy in the Arena was the main event of AEW Double or Nothing, and a crazy AEW Double or Nothing spot wasn't just something that was planned at the last minute, with a special license being required. During the May 28 show's main event, Anarchy in the Arena saw the Elite take on the Blackpool Combat Club. Crazy plans had been promised, and crazy moments certainly were delivered. The match would see Matt Jackson deliver an exploding super kick in the match. Dave Meltzer has now revealed what was required to make that moment happen, and just how long it had been in the making. Writing in the Wrestling Observer newsletter, Matt Jackson had conceived the exploding super kick spot about a month ago. Meltzer also revealed that Jackson wanted to do something that hadn't been done. The spot, though, would require Jackson to get a Nevada State Fire Performance license. The license is required for any performers who use pyrotechnics as part of their presentation. Following the Anarchy in the Arena match, it was revealed that there were no injuries beyond the usual cuts and bruises. Matt Jackson also recently this week revealed the current state of his arm after suffering a partially torn bicep. We spoke about that previously on a previous video. Now, when it comes to this Anarchy in the Arena match, it's quite interesting because reportedly the planning of it was actually quite difficult. While the May 28 pay-per-view featured numerous championship matches and several title changes, the final match of the show didn't have any gold on the line. In the main event of Double or Nothing, the Blackpool Combat Club defeated the Elite in an Anarchy in the Arena bout after Konosuke Takeshita sided with the Blackpool Combat Club. Per Dave Meltzer in the latest edition of the Wrestling Observer newsletter, the T-Mobile Arena gave the company limitations for the bout, and a lot of pitches were shut down following the events of the 2022 match encounter in the same building. Noting that AEW didn't have as much time to prepare for this year's Anarchy in the Arena bout, Meltzer writes, quote, "They didn't have the preparation time as they did for Anarchy in the Arena last year, nor did the production team, because the Las Vegas Golden Knights had a playoff game the night before in the building. So that delayed moving all of the production in as compared to a usual show. Last year for the match, the group came in the night before to scout out the arena for ideas, and this year that wasn't possible. In addition, the T-Mobile Arena gave the company limitations for the match, and a lot of ideas were shut down by the building because of things that happened in last year's match." So, is this another reason for AEW to move next year's Double or Nothing event out of Las Vegas, or is Double or Nothing synonymous with Vegas and it should stick there? What are your thoughts on that? Let me know where you think Double or Nothing should be next year. Dynamite this week on TBS. The ratings are up a bit, but still under 1 million, being the post Double or Nothing show and having no NHL or NBA playoff competition for the first time in weeks. Wednesday's episode of AEW Dynamite was inevitably going to be an interesting one as far as the ratings go. Indeed it was, and the results were, let's say, mixed. According to reporting from WrestleNomics on Twitter and on its Patreon page, the May 31st Dynamite averaged 923,000 viewers overall across its 2 hours, which is up 9% from the prior week, approximately 374,000 of which were in the key demo most valued by advertisers, that being adults aged 18 to 49, but that is actually down 11% from the prior week. The latter figure translates to a 0.29 rating in the 18 to 49 demographic, up just one tick from the 0.28 the show has averaged most weeks of the playoff season. As of this recording, Showbuzz Daily has not posted its rankings for Wednesday, so where Dynamite placed among the day's cable originals is not yet known right now. But for a more extensive picture, the WrestleNomics Patreon page tracks how Dynamite did in various demographics in relation to the median of the prior full week's numbers. By that metric, the numbers get even more interesting. The biggest percentage changes were actually largely negative, with a 27% drop from the median in women aged 18 to 34, a 23% loss in women aged 35 to 49, a 22% dip in women aged 18 to 49, a 17% loss in adults aged 18 to 34, and a 14% deficit in men aged 18 to 34. The biggest percentage increase by far came in viewers outside of the 18 to 49 demo, which increased 26% 6% from the median, followed by an 11% jump in total viewers and a 10% improvement in men aged 35 to 49. So what are your thoughts on the ratings this week? And does the return of CM Punk to AEW Collision factor in at all to the ratings of Dynamite? What do you think about that? As always, let me know your thoughts. Switching back to Double or Nothing, we also have a bit more of an update when it comes to estimated pay-per-view buys in comparison to previous pay-per-views that AEW have put on. Previous reports indicated that the May 28 show had a slightly lower pay-per-view figure than March's Revolution pay-per-view. However, more people went to see the May show in theaters. Per Dave Meltzer in the latest edition of the Wrestling Observer newsletter, buys for Double or Nothing as of June 1st were virtually identical to Revolution buys on the Thursday following that show. Meltzer shared that the estimate buy rate is between 130,000 to 135,000, writing, quote, "The talk of the build leading to a weaker pay-per-view number didn't seem to happen. The television pay-per-view buys as of recorded buys on June 1st were virtually identical, with Revolution on the Thursday after the show as within 100 nationally and 0.2% ahead of the same pace for the previous show. The other numbers, streaming, fight, are also similar, and so it's trending to do identical numbers, although Revolution had a ridiculous number of late buys, and I don't see this show matching that. For Revolution, the television pay-per-view numbers increased 30.7% over the number of buys recorded the Thursday after the show, which is so beyond anything we've ever seen from pay-per-view, which is why I don't think it will happen again, and the final numbers will probably not wind up quite as big. As compared to last year's Double or Nothing, with CM Punk versus Adam Page and Wardlow versus MJF as the big draws, it's down 31.3% in television buys at the same stage. Right now, a 130,000 to 135,000 final number is the best estimate, but it could end up a little higher or lower than those figures based on buys over the next 2 weeks. Next week, we'll have a better number on how the late buys did, which will get a better handle on the trajectory, and if it could get closer to the 140,000 number, which has been the range for every AEW pay-per-view since last year's Forbidden Door show. So, again, quite interesting that essentially it did basically average and on par with every other pay-per-view since last year, but maybe could it have been better then if the build was better? That's certainly an interesting topic. A few updates on some injury returns. AEW fans haven't seen PAC in action since Death Triangle lost their AEW World Trios Championships to the Elite in a dramatic best-of-7 series comeback. The AEW star had a broken nose during their initial match for the titles at Full Gear in November. PAC's nose was visibly bleeding towards the end of an intensely physical bout, which ended with Rey Fenix hitting Kenny Omega in the head with a hammer. The disputed finish led to a months-long best-of-7 series between the two groups, throughout all of which PAC wrestled with a face mask protecting his broken nose. The latest edition of the Wrestling Observer newsletter today confirmed that PAC wrestled through the injury earlier this year and has been out of action due to it since the Best of 7 series final ladder match in mid-January. However, there's expectations that PAC will be back on AEW television soon. While PAC hasn't been seen in an AEW ring since the beginning of the year, he was healthy enough to make 2 appearances for OTT back in March at the English promotion Scrapomania 7 event, coming out on top in victories in back-to-back days. There's also plenty of TV time coming up for the inaugural AEW All-Atlantic Champion's potential return. AEW recently announced it's adding a new weekly show on Saturday nights called AEW Collision, while a rumored brand split may be coming, which many hope will give the promotion's large and talented roster more distinct opportunities. PAC could be featured on either show, again, depending on what happens when it comes to a possible brand split. Now, also an update when it cocomes to Santana. Dave Meltzer has also addressed Santana's return to AEW, stating that Santana is going to be ready to return soon. On the June 29, 2022 Blood and Guts episode of AEW Dynamite, Santana attacked Daniel Garcia, only to land awkwardly and immediately fall to the ground in pain. Tony Khan would later confirm that the proud and powerful member had suffered a knee injury and would be sidelined while he recovered. As previously reported, Khan would continue to pay Santana during his ACL injury and rehab. Prior to the injury, Santana had been publicly counting down to what many believed to be the expiration of his AEW contract. It was also revealed that around the same time, the relationship between Santana and his tag team partner Ortiz wasn't a friendly one. Meltzer observed that he's not sure where Santana will fit into the current landscape of AEW, citing the fallout between Santana and Ortiz. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with Santana's future in AEW. Has he mended fences with Ortiz, or once he's back, is he going to be leaving? Is AEW going to add time onto his contract? Only time will tell. Lee Moriarty has spoken about some matches he never thought would actually happen and expressed gratitude. AEW star Lee Moriarty took to Twitter to share thoughts of his gratitude of his career accomplishments thus far, namely naming 3 huge matches. Moriarty wrote, quote, 21 faced Punk, who at one point was completely gone from wrestling. 22 faced Danielson, who was retired from wrestling. 23 I faced Shibata, who was also retired from wrestling. 3 matches I never thought possible, made possible because of work ethic, trust, and some luck. In the comments, a couple of AEW stars popped around to remind Lee of some other milestone moments as well, with Danhausen writing, quote, 20 faced the legend known as Danhausen in a football field after eating a slice of cold pizza together, with Ethan Page also adding a major match to that list. Don't forget that time you fought the Hardy Boys on a lawn. So Lee Moriarty in big matches. Let's switch gears here and talk about Impact Wrestling very briefly. Trinity has set her sights on Deonna Peraza and the Impact Knockouts World Championship, and she won't have to wait much longer to get her shot. During the June 1st episode of Impact Wrestling on Access TV, Trinity called the champion out following her victory over Savannah Evans. Peraza obliged, saying, "Let's dance," in response to being challenged for the title at Slammiversary. Unfortunately, their face-off was cut short when Evans, Giselle Shaw, and Jay Vidal attacked both women from behind. As they began fighting back, Peraza was struck from behind by Vidal with a purse and knocked out cold. Trinity began gaining the upper hand though, dispatching Vidal to the outside of the ring and evading an attempted attack with the same purse. Shaw grabbed the purse herself and knocked out the Impact newcomer anyway. Former champion Jordynne Grace eventually raced down to the ring to make the save, only for the same fate to befall her. Shaw didn't stop there, however, nailing Grace with vicious knee strikes before standing tall alongside Evans and Vidal. While the contents of the purse weren't revealed, the damage had certainly been done. Regardless, assuming that they all recover in time, fans could look forward to Trinity facing off against Peraza on Saturday, July 15 in Windsor, Ontario, Canada. It's been nearly a month since Trinity debuted in Impact Wrestling, making her first appearance for the promotion back on May 4. She last wrestled in May 2022 for WWE. She's yet to lose a match since arriving in Impact, and we'll be hoping to continue that streak as we get closer to Slammiversary next month. Now, Dark Side of the Ring Season 4 returned this week, with the first episode being on Chris Candido and Sunny. On May 15, though, Vice Media filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. In a statement made by Vice, the company stated the process is likely to result in the sale of Vice, which will continue to operate during the proceedings. Despite this, Dark Side of the Ring co-creator Evan Husney previously stated that nothing has changed for Dark Side of the Ring and the health of the show, with the first episode of Season 4 airing, as I mentioned, this week on May 30th. In a new interview with Comic Book, Husney provided an update on the situation, noting that it's business as usual for the Dark Side of the Ring crew. Noting that they're good to go, he said, quote, "No, this isn't the end. We definitely want to keep the show going. We love making the show and we love telling these stories. With Tales from the Territories, we had such a fun time just rediscovering our love for the Territory era, that kayfabe era. We just love that so much, and I think that's carried over into Dark Side 4. There's a lot of Territory era stories, Magnum TA, Junkyard Dog, Adrian Adonis. You got all those, so that's definitely inspired that. So exploring that, and there's a lot more to explore. I think what you're reading about Vice right now, I think the good news is, obviously, I'm not an official, someone who can comment on behalf of the company or anything, but from what's been explained to me, it's business as usual. Vice TV, the TV channel, the entity, that's a separate entity from Vice Media, so we're good to go. We want to keep going, and we have plans to. So more seasons possibly of Dark Side of the Ring to come. An update on Tay Miller. Of course, she is pregnant. AEW's Tay Miller has addressed her in-ring future after she and husband Sammy Guevara announced they have a baby on the way. Despite countless examples of mothers who are still active wrestlers, some people had still been asking whether this spells the end of Tay's in-ring career. Well, here's what Tay and Sammy had to say on Tay's Instagram story. "Definitely not. I don't understand why everybody thinks my career is going to be over just because I'm going to have a kid. I'm going to be out the same amount of time as someone who has like an ACL injury or a surgery. I don't understand, but well, it's not over. I'm coming back as soon as I can." Sammy said, "And if there's something about Tay that you should know, is that she cannot do nothing. I'm having to fight with her just to be like, you can't do anything." In a follow-up question, Tay was asked about how she feels putting her career on hold for the time being, to which she replied, quote, "I don't feel bad at all. Being a mother was always a dream of mine, and I think it's perfect timing, and I feel like it's going to motivate me so much more to come back better and stronger. Imagine with me having a little one cheering for you in the crowd and you holding the belt." So obviously we wish her the best, both of them, as they are welcoming their first child. Finally, let's talk some Ring of Honor. Now, on this week's episode of Ring of Honor on Honor Club that aired yesterday, June 1st, on the episode, The Righteous and Stu Grayson faced off against the Dark Order. The match would end with Grayson hitting Nightfall on Evil Uno, with Vincent tagging himself in to steal a pin for his team. What happened after the match, however, is what appears to indicate the direction of the Dark Order. As can be seen during the broadcast, after the match, Uno found himself on the receiving end of a beatdown from the Righteous. He reached out to Grayson in the hope of assistance during the merciless assault. Grayson would abandon Uno, walking away and leaving him in the ring. On the May 18 episode of Ring of Honor on Honor Club, Grayson was asked to choose between the Dark Order or the Righteous. It certainly looks like he's made his decision. Stu Grayson made his return to AEW in March 2023, teaming with Evil Uno and Hangman Adam Page in a vicious match against the Blackpool Combat Club, that being Jon Moxley, Claudio Castagnoli, and Wheeler Yuta. So now it looks like that he's firmly in the path of the Righteous. But there you go, guys. It's the latest AEW news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. Let me know your thoughts, as always, in the comment section below, and I'll speak for you again very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.